The eerie glow of the West Coast's haunted lighthouses beneath the vast, star-speckled skies of the Pacific Ocean, where waves crash against jagged cliffs and salt-kissed winds howl through desolate shores, stand sentinels of solitude. Lighthouses. These towering structures, once beacons of hope for sailors navigating treacherous waters, now whisper tales far darker than their guiding lights suggest. On the west coast of the United States, a stretch of coastline renowned for its rugged beauty and untamed wilderness, these lighthouses have become more than just navigational aids. They are gateways to another realm, places where the boundary between life and death blurs. For centuries, lighthouses have been symbols of resilience and safety, standing steadfast against the fury of nature. Yet, within their weathered walls lie stories that defy explanation, tales of tragedy, madness, and spectral encounters that chill even the bravest souls. From Oregon's mist-shrouded capes to California's sun-drenched coves, each lighthouse carries its own haunting legacy, etched into its stone and steel by the lives of those who once called it home. As we delve into this episode of Most Haunted Lighthouses on the West Coast, prepare yourself for an odyssey into shadowy corridors and lantern rooms bathed in ghostly luminescence. Here, keepers' logs tell not only of storms and shipwrecks but also of disembodied voices, phantom footsteps, and apparitions glimpsed in the dead of night. Each story is steeped in history, yet tinged with the supernatural, a testament to the enduring power of human memory and the mysteries that refuse to fade. So, gather close, dear reader, as we embark on a journey along the West Coast's haunted shores. Whether you're a skeptic drawn by curiosity, or a believer eager to uncover the truth, these lighthouses promise to illuminate not just the seas but also the shadows within our collective psyche. Let us explore together the eerie glow of these timeless guardians, and discover why some lights shine long after they should have gone dark. The Tillamook Rock Lighthouse, a fortress of sorrow perched atop a jagged basalt outcrop 1 mile off the coast of Oregon, the Tillamook Rock Lighthouse, or Terrible Tilly, as it came to be known, is a monument to both human ingenuity and unrelenting despair. Commissioned in 1881, this remote sentinel was designed to guide mariners through the treacherous waters of the Columbia River Bar, often referred to as the Graveyard of the Pacific. But from its inception, Tillamook Rock proved as perilous to its keepers as it was vital to sailors, earning a reputation as one of the most isolated and dangerous lighthouses ever built. Construction alone was a Herculean task fraught with tragedy. Workers endured relentless battering by fierce ocean swells, high winds, and ceaseless rain. Before the foundation could even be laid, a rogue wave swept away tools and supplies, delaying progress for weeks. One worker reportedly fell to his death during early construction, his body lost to the churning sea below. Even after completion, the harsh conditions persisted, claiming countless lives over the decades. Keepers assigned to Tillamook Rock faced not only physical danger but also profound psychological strain, trapped on the barren rock for months at a time without respite. It wasn't long before whispers of the supernatural began to circulate among the lighthouse staff. The first documented account dates back to 1895, when keeper William Herman reported hearing mournful wails echoing through the structure during violent storms. At first, he dismissed the sounds as the wind whistling through cracks in the masonry, but the cries grew louder and more distinct, human-like moans accompanied by faint sobbing. Other keepers corroborated his experiences, describing an oppressive atmosphere that seemed to weigh heavily on their minds, filling them with dread and paranoia. One particularly chilling incident occurred in 1913, when keeper Thomas Hargraves swore he saw a translucent figure standing at the base of the tower. Clad in tattered maritime attire, the apparition appeared to gaze out toward the horizon before vanishing into thin air. Hargrave later discovered that a ship had wrecked nearby that same night, claiming all hands aboard. Locals speculated that the spirit might belong to one of the countless sailors whose lives were claimed by the unforgiving waters surrounding Tillamook Rock. Perhaps the most infamous haunting stems from 1934, when a massive storm battered the lighthouse for weeks on end. Supplies dwindled, communication lines failed, and morale plummeted. Keeper James O'Connell claimed that during the height of the tempest, he encountered the ghostly figure of a former keeper, Charles Johnson, who had died of pneumonia years earlier. According to O'Connell, Johnson's specter warned him of impending disaster, urging him to secure the lantern room before it was too late. Though skeptical, O'Connell followed the advice, and narrowly avoided catastrophe when a rogue wave smashed into the tower, shattering part of the outer wall. Even after automation rendered human keepers obsolete in 1957, reports of paranormal activity continued. In the 1980s, Tillamook Rock was repurposed as a private columbarium, housing the ashes of the deceased within its hollowed-out chambers. Visitors and caretakers alike described feeling watched by unseen eyes, hearing footsteps pacing above or below them, and seeing flickering shadows dance across the walls. Some claimed to see faces pressed against the glass windows of the lantern room, their expressions twisted in anguish. Today, Tillamook Rock stands abandoned, its light extinguished, but its legends alive. Paranormal investigators who have ventured onto the rock report capturing chilling EVP recordings of voices pleading for help or warning intruders to leave. Others have photographed orbs of light hovering near the lantern room, believed by some to be the spirits of drowned sailors seeking solace. For those brave enough to approach this fortress of sorrow, terrible Tilly offers no warmth, only the cold embrace of history and the restless souls who remain tethered to its rocky shores. Point Reyes Lighthouse, guardians of the fog nestled amidst the dramatic cliffs of Point Reyes National Seashore in Northern California. The Point Reyes Lighthouse stands as both a guardian of the coastline and a repository of haunting enigmas. Established in 1870 to warn ships away from the treacherous rocks and shifting sands of Drake's Bay, this iconic structure has witnessed countless maritime disasters and personal tragedies. Its spiral staircase, winding down 308 steps to the pounding surf below, serves as a metaphorical descent into the abyss, not just of the sea but of the human psyche. One of the most compelling ghost stories tied to Point Reyes revolves around keeper Samuel Henderson, who served there during the late 19th century. Described as a man of quiet dedication, Henderson lived alone in the keeper's quarters after losing his wife and young daughter to illness. Over time, his grief transformed into something darker, an obsession with ensuring the light never faltered, no matter the cost. Locals whispered about strange occurrences at the lighthouse, flickering lights visible even during daylight hours, disembodied footsteps echoing through empty halls, and the sound of a child's laughter carried on the wind. Henderson's mental state deteriorated rapidly. Witnesses claimed to see him speaking to unseen companions, gesturing wildly as if engaged in heated arguments. On stormy nights, passers-by reported spotting a figure resembling Henderson pacing the edge of the cliff, illuminated only by flashes of lightning. Then, one fateful evening in 1892, the light went out unexpectedly, plunging passing vessels into darkness. When a rescue team arrived the next morning, they found Henderson slumped over the lantern mechanism, his face frozen in an expression of terror. No cause of death was determined, though rumors circulated that he had taken his own life, unable to bear the weight of his losses. Since then, the presence of Henderson and his family is said to linger in the lighthouse. Visitors frequently describe feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness upon entering the keeper's quarters, as though the air itself is saturated with sorrow. Some claim to hear soft humming or singing emanating from the walls, reminiscent of a lullaby. Others recount seeing a shadowy figure descending the spiral staircase, disappearing before reaching the bottom. Most unsettling are the reports of a small girl's silhouette appearing in the lantern room, her form bathed in ethereal light as she peers out over the ocean. Paranormal investigators have documented numerous inexplicable phenomena at Point Reyes. Thermal cameras reveal cold spots concentrated near the lantern room and keeper's quarters, while EMF detectors spike unpredictably throughout the structure. Audio recordings capture faint voices murmuring indistinct phrases, interspersed with the sound of waves crashing eerily in the background. One investigator captured what appears to be a spectral orb floating up the staircase, a phenomenon attributed by some to Henderson's restless spirit attempting to relight the beacon. Despite its haunting reputation, the Point Reyes Lighthouse remains a beloved landmark, drawing tourists eager to experience its stark beauty and storied past. Rangers leading guided tours often share tales of the supernatural, adding layers of intrigue to the already awe-inspiring setting. For those brave enough to venture into its depths, the lighthouse offers an unparalleled opportunity to confront the ghosts of history, and perhaps glimpse the eternal struggle between duty and despair. Cape Blanco Lighthouse. Whispers of the unknown perched atop a windswept bluff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. The Cape Blanco Lighthouse in Oregon exudes an air of serene isolation that belies its tumultuous history. First lit in 1870, this elegant structure served as a critical navigational aid for vessels traversing the hazardous waters off southern Oregon's coast. However, beneath its pristine white exterior lies a tapestry of mystery woven with threads of tragedy, madness, and unexplained phenomena that continue to haunt its hallowed grounds. One of the most enduring legends associated with Cape Blanco centers around Keeper Patrick Hughes, a devoted family man whose life took a sinister turn under the relentless pressure of his duties. Appointed in 1897, Hughes moved his wife Mary and their 7 children into the cramped keeper's quarters adjacent to the lighthouse. For years, the family thrived despite the harsh conditions, finding joy in the simple pleasures of rural life. But everything changed in 1903 when Mary succumbed to tuberculosis, leaving Hughes to raise their children alone. Grief-stricken and overwhelmed, Hughes became increasingly withdrawn, spending long hours tending to the light and avoiding interaction with his kids. Neighbors noted a marked change in his demeanor. He spoke less, ate sparingly, and rarely ventured beyond the confines of the property. Rumors began to circulate about strange occurrences at the lighthouse, doors slamming shut on their own, lights flickering without explanation, and disembodied whispers drifting through the corridors. Some claimed to see a pale figure resembling Mary wandering the grounds at dusk, her translucent form clutching a bundle as if cradling an infant. The situation reached a breaking point in 1910, when Hughes abruptly resigned his post and fled the lighthouse, leaving behind cryptic notes, scrawled on scraps of paper. Among them was a chilling message: "They won't let me rest. They follow me everywhere." His whereabouts remain unknown to this day, fueling speculation that he met a tragic end somewhere along the desolate coastline. Decades later, visitors to Cape Blanco have reported encountering phenomena eerily similar to those described during Hughes's tenure. Many describe hearing faint crying emanating from the keeper's quarters, as though a mother mourns the loss of her child. Others claim to feel an icy breeze pass through them, accompanied by the unmistakable scent of lavender, a fragrance Mary reportedly favored. Perhaps the most disturbing accounts come from overnight guests staying in the renovated quarters, who swear they wake up to find tiny handprints pressed against their bedroom windows, visible only in the moonlight. Paranormal investigators have conducted extensive research at Cape Blanco, capturing compelling evidence of its supernatural inhabitants. Thermal imaging reveals anomalous cold spots clustered near the lantern room and kitchen area, while audio equipment picks up faint voices muttering phrases like, "Stay away," or "Help me." One particularly unsettling discovery involved a series of photographs showing a shadowy figure standing at the edge of the bluff, gazing out over the ocean, a location notorious for suicides linked to the lighthouse's history. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, Cape Blanco continues to attract curious travelers eager to peel back the layers of its enigmatic past. Rangers leading tours often recount tales of the Hughes family, inviting visitors to imagine the hardships faced by those who once called the lighthouse home. For those bold enough to spend the night, the promise of encountering Mary's lingering spirit, or unraveling the riddles left behind by Patrick Hughes, proves irresistible. Yet, as each new visitor crosses its threshold, they must ask themselves, are they prepared to face the whispers of the unknown, or will they become another chapter in the lighthouse's haunted lore? Table Bluff Lighthouse, shadows of solitude tucked away along the rugged coastline of Humboldt County, California. The Table Bluff Lighthouse stands as a testament to the isolation and hardship endured by its keepers. Built in 1892 to guide ships through the treacherous waters of the South Spit entrance to Humboldt Bay, this modest yet vital structure played a crucial role in maritime safety. However, its remote location and harsh environmental conditions made it a crucible for human endurance, and a breeding ground for supernatural phenomena. One of the most harrowing tales tied to Table Bluff involves keeper Arthur Langley, whose tenure spanned the early 20th century. A meticulous and reserved man, Langley dedicated himself entirely to maintaining the light, rarely venturing beyond the confines of the lighthouse grounds. Over time, his reclusive nature gave way to erratic behavior, alarming neighbors who occasionally visited to deliver supplies. They recounted seeing him pacing frantically along the bluff, muttering under his breath and casting nervous glances toward the horizon. Some claimed to hear him shouting at unseen figures, imploring them to leave him in peace. Langley's descent into madness culminated in a chilling incident during the winter of 1916. During a brutal storm that severed communication lines and stranded the keeper on the bluff, witnesses reported seeing a second figure silhouetted in the lantern room alongside Langley. Descriptions varied, but all agreed the figure appeared gaunt and otherworldly, clad in tattered clothing reminiscent of a sailor lost at sea. Days later, when rescuers finally reached the lighthouse, they found Langley huddled in a corner of the keeper's quarters, staring blankly ahead. He refused to speak, instead repeatedly scribbling the phrase, "He shouldn't be here," on scraps of paper until his eventual removal from duty. Since then, reports of paranormal activity have plagued Table Bluff. Visitors describe hearing the rhythmic clanging of metal against stone, as though someone were hammering repairs into place, though no tools are visible. Others recount waking up to find their bedsheets soaked with seawater, despite being miles from the shore. Most unsettling are the sightings of a spectral figure resembling Langley, often seen perched on the edge of the bluff, gazing out over the ocean as if searching for something, or someone, lost to the depths. Modern-day investigations into the lighthouse's haunted reputation have yielded intriguing results. Thermal cameras detect significant temperature drops in key areas, including the lantern room and keeper's quarters. Electromagnetic field (EMF) meters register unusual spikes, particularly near antique furniture pieces believed to have belonged to Langley. Audio recordings capture faint whispers issuing fragmented sentences like, "I can't escape," and "Leave me alone," interspersed with the distant sound of waves crashing against the rocks below. Despite, or perhaps because of, its eerie allure, Table Bluff continues to draw visitors eager to immerse themselves in its storied past. Rangers leading tours often share tales of Langley's tormented existence, inviting guests to ponder the psychological toll of isolation and the blurred line between reality and delusion. For those brave enough to book an overnight stay, the opportunity to confront the shadows of solitude offers both terror and fascination. Yet, as each new visitor steps across its threshold, they must decide whether they are ready to face the ghosts of Table Bluff and the restless spirits it left behind. Battery Point Lighthouse, echoes of the forgotten perched precariously on a rocky island accessible only by foot during low tide. The Battery Point Lighthouse in Crescent City, California, is as picturesque as it is mysterious. Constructed in 1856, this charming sentinel has guided countless vessels through the perilous waters of the Pacific Ocean. Yet, beneath its quaint exterior lies a trove of spectral secrets, whispered by the wind and etched into the very stones of its foundation. It is here, amid crashing waves and swirling mists, that the forgotten echoes of those who once called the lighthouse home refuse to fade. One of the most pervasive legends tied to Battery Point revolves around Keeper William C. Smith, who served from 1873 until his untimely death in 1892. Known for his stern demeanor and unwavering dedication, Smith lived alone in the keeper's quarters after the passing of his wife, Margaret. Their marriage had been marked by love and devotion, but her sudden demise plunged Smith into a deep melancholy. Neighbors noted a marked shift in his personality. Once sociable and approachable, he became reclusive, rarely venturing beyond the lighthouse grounds. Some claimed to hear him speaking softly in the dead of night, as though conversing with an invisible companion. The first documented supernatural encounter occurred shortly after Margaret's death. A local fisherman swore he saw her ghostly figure standing at the water's edge, gazing longingly toward the mainland. Others reported hearing faint piano music drifting from the keeper's quarters, though no instrument existed within the lighthouse. Smith himself confided in a friend that he often felt Margaret's presence beside him, particularly in the lantern room where they had spent many evenings together watching the sunset. But it wasn't just Margaret's spirit that lingered. In 1889, a violent storm battered the coastline, flooding the lower levels of the lighthouse and trapping Smith inside. When help finally arrived days later, they found him unconscious, clutching a photograph of Margaret tightly to his chest. He survived the ordeal but emerged profoundly altered. Speaking of shadowy figures that stalked him during the storm, their forms indistinct yet menacing. Locals whispered that these entities were the spirits of sailors lost to the unforgiving sea, drawn to the lighthouse by the beacon's light. Following Smith's death, reports of paranormal activity intensified. Visitors to Battery Point describe hearing disembodied footsteps ascending the spiral staircase, accompanied by the sensation of being watched. Others recount seeing a transparent woman in Victorian attire moving gracefully through the keeper's quarters, her expression one of quiet resignation. Most unsettling are the sightings of a dark, hulking figure lurking near the base of the lighthouse, its presence heralded by an oppressive silence that falls over the surrounding area. Paranormal investigators have explored Battery Point extensively, capturing compelling evidence of its haunted reputation. Thermal imaging reveals cold spots concentrated near the lantern room and keeper's quarters, while EMF detectors register erratic spikes in electromagnetic activity. Audio recordings pick up faint voices muttering indistinct phrases, interspersed with the sound of waves crashing eerily in the background. One particularly chilling discovery involved a series of photographs showing a shadowy figure standing at the edge of the island, gazing out over the ocean, a location notorious for drownings linked to the lighthouse's history. Despite its haunted allure, Battery Point remains a beloved landmark, attracting tourists eager to experience its stark beauty and storied past. Rangers leading guided tours often share tales of the supernatural, adding layers of intrigue to the already awe-inspiring setting. For those brave enough to venture onto the island, the lighthouse offers an unparalleled opportunity to confront the ghosts of history, and perhaps glimpse the eternal struggle between love and loss. Comparing ghostly legacies, patterns across the West Coast's haunted lighthouses. While each of the West Coast's haunted lighthouses possesses its own unique aura of mystery and tragedy, a closer examination reveals striking patterns that connect their spectral legacies. These commonalities transcend geographical boundaries, weaving together a shared narrative of human vulnerability, isolation, and the enduring pull of unresolved emotions. From Tillamook Rock's windswept solitude to Battery Point's tidal rhythms, these lighthouses serve as mirrors reflecting universal themes that resonate deeply with our collective psyche. One recurring motif is the role of isolation in amplifying both psychological distress and paranormal phenomena. Keepers stationed at these remote outposts often endured months of solitude, cut off from society by miles of open ocean or impenetrable fog. This enforced separation fostered a fertile ground for mental deterioration, as evidenced by the tragic descents of figures like Keeper Samuel Henderson at Point Reyes and Arthur Langley at Table Bluff. Their growing paranoia and erratic behavior were frequently interpreted as signs of haunting, blurring the line between madness and the supernatural. Similarly, visitors today report feelings of unease or being watched, suggesting that the oppressive atmosphere of isolation persists long after the original keepers have departed. Another consistent theme is the presence of familial ties in shaping the hauntings. At Cape Blanco, the ghostly manifestations of Mary Hughes and her children linger as poignant reminders of love and loss, while Margaret Smith's spectral visits to Battery Point underscore the enduring bond between husband and wife. These apparitions highlight the emotional weight carried by those who lived and died at the lighthouses, their spirits seemingly bound to the places where their lives intersected so profoundly. The repetition of such narratives across different locations reinforces the idea that love and grief are universal forces capable of transcending death. Light also plays a symbolic role in these stories, serving as both a literal beacon and a metaphorical representation of hope and despair. The lantern rooms of these lighthouses, meant to guide mariners safely ashore, often become focal points for paranormal activity. At Tillamook Rock, the extinguished light during Keeper James O'Connell's haunting encounter symbolizes failure and impending doom, while at Point Reyes, flickering lights suggest the presence of Keeper Henderson's restless spirit attempting to fulfill his final duty. This duality of light as both salvation and torment underscores the complexity of human experience, mirroring the push and pull between life and death. Finally, the element of water, the constant, unyielding force surrounding these structures, ties these tales together in an almost poetic manner. Shipwrecks, drownings, and the ceaseless roar of waves feature prominently in the histories of these lighthouses, creating a backdrop of inevitability and mortality. The ocean acts as both antagonist and accomplice, claiming lives while simultaneously preserving memories, much like the ghosts themselves. Reports of seawater seeping into rooms or the sound of waves echoing unnaturally emphasize this connection, reminding us that the sea is not merely a setting but a character in its own right. By examining these patterns, we gain insight into why these haunted lighthouses captivate us so deeply. They are more than mere buildings. They are vessels of emotion, archives of human struggle, and conduits for the mysteries that lie beyond comprehension. Each lighthouse tells a story not just of its own past but of humanity's eternal quest to make sense of the unknown. As we peer into their shadowy interiors, we confront not only the ghosts of history but also the reflections of our own fears and desires. The enduring allure of haunted lighthouses. What is it about haunted lighthouses that continues to grip our imagination? Is it the stark contrast between their utilitarian purpose and the eerie tales they harbor? Or perhaps it is the way these solitary sentinels embody the dualities of light and darkness, safety and peril, life and death? Whatever the reason, their magnetic pull lies in their ability to straddle worlds, both literal and metaphorical, offering us a glimpse into realms that defy logic and challenge belief. At their core, haunted lighthouses tap into our primal fascination with liminal spaces, places where boundaries blur and rules no longer apply. Perched on the edge of land and sea, they exist in a state of perpetual transition, caught between civilization and wilderness, visibility and obscurity. This liminality extends to the stories they tell, where the mundane collides with the extraordinary, and the living brush shoulders with the dead. It is this interplay of opposites that makes them so irresistibly compelling, inviting us to explore the gray areas that define the human condition. Moreover, these lighthouses serve as repositories of memory, preserving fragments of lives long extinguished yet refusing to be forgotten. Whether it's the grieving whispers of keeper Samuel Henderson at Point Reyes or the spectral figure of Mary Hughes wandering the cliffs of Cape Blanco, each haunting reflects a story of love, loss, or longing. These narratives remind us that history is not static. It is alive, pulsing through the stones and beams of these structures, waiting for someone to listen. By engaging with these tales, we participate in an act of remembrance, honoring those who came before us and ensuring their voices endure. Yet, perhaps the most profound allure of haunted lighthouses lies in their ability to evoke wonder and fear simultaneously. They invite us to step outside the comfort of rationality and embrace the unknown, challenging us to question what we think we know about reality. In doing so, they awaken a sense of childlike curiosity, reigniting our capacity for awe and discovery. For every creaking floorboard or flickering lantern light, there is a kernel of possibility, a chance that the impossible might just be real. Dear reader, as we bring this journey through the haunted lighthouses of the West Coast to a close, I hope you've felt the same spine-tingling allure that has drawn countless souls to these spectral sanctuaries. These towering beacons, standing steadfast against the fury of nature, are more than just relics of maritime history. They are gateways to another realm, places where the past refuses to remain silent and the boundaries between worlds grow thin. But why stop here? If these accounts have stirred something within you, a spark of curiosity, a shiver of excitement, I urge you to take the next step. Visit one of these haunted lighthouses yourself. Walk the same spiral staircases where keepers once tread, stand in the lantern rooms where their lights pierce the darkness, and let the ocean winds carry the whispers of those who came before. Whether you're a skeptic seeking proof or a believer eager to commune with the other side, these lighthouses offer an unparalleled opportunity to confront the mysteries that lie just beyond the veil. And when you return, share your story. Did you feel the icy touch of a ghostly hand? Hear the faint strains of music in an empty corridor? Or perhaps nothing happened at all, but isn't that silence just as intriguing? Your experiences add to the rich tapestry of lore surrounding these haunted lighthouses, ensuring their legacies endure for generations to come. Until then, keep your lanterns lit and your courage steady. The spirits are waiting,